Buenas tardes, soy Bethany Stevens, secretaria de prensa de la NASA. Tenemos importantes oradores en el día de hoy, incluyendo el director de la NASA, Jared Isaacman, Brian News, el director de Aeronáutica, Lori Grindle, y funcionarios elegidos del estado de la Florida, incluyendo la senadora Ashley Moody, congresista Michael Dopolis, congresista Darren Soto, congresista Byron Donalds y congresista Corey Mills. Primero, démosle la bienvenida al director de la NASA, Jared Isaacman. Un entusiasta del espacio, piloto, emprendedor y astronauta comercial, fue nominado por el presidente Trump para encabezar a la NASA y confirmado en 2025. Director Isaacman, bienvenido. Gracias a todos por estar hoy aquí. Y nuevamente quisiera darle gracias a algunos de nuestros oradores. Brian Hughes, es un placer tenerlos a todos aquí. El director Grindle de la División Aeronáutica, senador Moody, congresista Herodopoulos, congresista Soto, Donalds. Gracias. Y a todos nuestros funcionarios elegidos, federales y estatales que están aquí, quienes son unos luchadores por el estado de la Florida, pero especialmente a favor de la NASA y nuestra misión. Por más de 250 años, Estados Unidos ha inspirado al mundo con sus logros. Y eso no es casual. La conquista del oeste, la fundación de la República Democrática más innovadora de la historia, los logros de los hermanos Wright y décadas de trabajo pionero, todo esto es producto de los hombres y mujeres que tomaron la decisión de emprender retos casi imposibles y tuvieron éxito. Esa es nuestra guía en la NASA y no estamos atrasando la marcha. El presidente Trump ha empoderado a todas las entidades del gobierno para ir en pos de este ambicioso plan, estos ideales que hacen de nuestro país el más grande del mundo. En los últimos meses hemos tenido algunas de las misiones científicas más increíbles en la historia de la NASA. El viaje alrededor de la Luna fue el comienzo. El programa Artemis 3 está siendo preparado en este momento. El vehículo se está ensamblando y pronto regresaremos con astronautas estadounidenses en 2028 a la superficie de la Luna. Estamos preparándonos para tener la primera base en otro cuerpo celeste, en la Luna. Y somos pioneros en vuelos supersónicos silenciosos, el lanzamiento del telescopio espacial Nancy Grace, lanzamientos de Dragonfly para explorar el universo y para lanzar la misión que nos pondrá en camino a usar energía nuclear en el espacio. Un pequeño paso hacia una NASA nuclear, como los astronautas que nos están acompañando en el día de hoy. Aquí están Raja y Denise, este equipo de la NASA, y nos enrumbamos al día en que NASA llevará la bandera de las barras y las estrellas al planeta Marte. El pueblo estadounidense ha invertido en programas de la NASA y han esperado pacientemente para emprender estas misiones como Artemis 2. Y merecen ver lo que estamos haciendo, la capacidad aeroespacial, el talento pionero de la NASA. Por eso es para mí un privilegio anunciar en el día de hoy
On November 7th, NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida, will kick off Max Power, a two-day event showcasing the best of American innovation in air and space, right here on American soil at the historic shuttle landing facility. Max Power will feature space hardware, NASA and DOW aircraft, interactive mission simulators, moon rovers. You're going to have Apollo astronauts there, Artemis astronauts will be there, behind-the-scenes experiences, one hell of an air show, and maybe even a rocket launch or two. As we honor America's 250th birthday, Max Power will help set the stage for the next 250 years of American engineering greatness. Together with our collaborators, this will be an event remembered for generations.
Ciertamente sabemos cómo hacer videos. Como hemos visto, el 7 y 8 de noviembre, el Centro Espacial Kennedy abrirá lo que era una instalación restringida, abierta al público. En esta celebración tendremos espectáculos aéreos, demostraciones de tecnología, experimentos científicos, simulación y quizá uno o dos lanzamientos. Durante 2 días, los estadounidenses verán el futuro que tenemos por delante. Al celebrar 250 años de liderazgo estadounidense, Max Power nos permitirá demostrar planes para futuras generaciones que algún día llevaremos a la Luna para continuar con misiones que aún no hemos siquiera imaginado. Habrá exhibiciones de aeronaves militares, los Thunderbirds, algunos recursos de la NASA y si hacemos esto bien, un chico que visite el Centro Kennedy ese fin de semana verá algo que puede transformar su vida. Quizás soltarán el teléfono para mirar hacia el cielo y decir que quieren ser ingenieros, científicos, pilotos o astronautas para contribuir con la mayor aventura de la humanidad. Así es como la próxima generación comienza este recorrido. Es una exposición de tecnología y estamos sentando las bases para exhibiciones en el Centro Kennedy que van a redefinir la forma en que operan las empresas aeroespaciales para inspirar a las próximas generaciones de exploradores. Max Power 2026 es apenas el comienzo y los invitamos a todos a venir y explorar estas posibilidades. Muchas gracias.
Next, please welcome Kennedy Space Center and Wallops Flight Facility Director Brian Hughes.
Demos la bienvenida a Brian Hughes, nativo de la Florida, astronauta, funcionario de seguridad y ex jefe de gabinete de la NASA. Bienvenido.
Well, good afternoon. Thanks, everybody. This is an exciting day. And just remember, the weather in November is a lot less dynamic.
Buenas tardes, este es un día emocionante. Recuerden que el tiempo en noviembre es menos dinámico aquí que lo que es en agosto. Desde el reto de John F. Kennedy, el Centro Espacial Kennedy ha sido el corazón del liderazgo de nuestra nación en exploración espacial. Aquí los ojos del mundo han presenciado a hombres y mujeres que han dejado nuestro planeta y han explorado la Luna. Desde aquí, el Columbia tuvo su vuelo inaugural en una operación que se extendería por 3 décadas. Desde aquí, los hombres y mujeres que han trabajado en la Estación Espacial Internacional comenzaron lo que es ahora una presencia constante de Estados Unidos en órbita terrestre desde hace 25 años. Desde aquí, NASA y nuestros aliados comerciales están lanzando los sueños y esperanzas de la nación cuando allanamos el camino para un futuro de presencia prolongada en el espacio profundo, en la Luna y más allá. Este lugar icónico y la gente que trabaja aquí literalmente han escrito el episodio más transformador de la historia de nuestra nación. Tenemos históricas instalaciones de lanzamiento aquí en el Centro Kennedy y también en la Fuerza Espacial en Cabo Cañaveral. Punto de partida de los vehículos que van a llevar a la humanidad a nuevas alturas. Aquí mismo, donde estamos hoy, como decía el administrador, estamos en el centro de lanzamiento del transbordador espacial, que apoyó décadas de lanzamientos y viajes de tripulaciones, celebrando a hombres y mujeres que lo han arriesgado todo para la exploración del espacio. Para millones de personas en el mundo, el Centro Espacial Kennedy es sinónimo de inspiración. Y de hecho, fue una visita al Centro Espacial Kennedy de un chico de 3 años y medio, una fotografía que tengo en mi oficina. Así fue como comenzaron mis sueños sobre la NASA y el espacio. Así que las semillas que se plantan aquí pueden transformar vidas e inspirar sueños. Por supuesto, es perfecto que el Centro Espacial Kennedy sirva como punto de lanzamiento de un evento extraordinario para celebrar la dedicación, innovación, determinación e inspiración que han permitido que esta agencia transforme sueños en realidades y ambición en logros por más de 60 años. No hay mejor lugar donde celebrar los triunfos del pasado y no hay mejor lugar para brindar inspiración al futuro que aquí, en el Centro Espacial Kennedy. Y me emociona ser parte de ello, así que gracias a todos. También le damos la bienvenida a Lori Grendel, directora de la División Aeronáutica de la NASA. Lori es una aviadora, ingeniera, y aporta su experiencia a este evento. Démosle la bienvenida a Lori. Buenas tardes. La mayoría de la gente piensa en la NASA, piensa en el programa espacial, pero también somos líderes en exploración aeronáutica. Aquí no solamente estudiamos el vuelo, sino que lo redefinimos. Cada vez que usted toma un vuelo comercial, está utilizando tecnología de las que NASA ha sido pionera. Y todavía estamos transformando la aviación, desarrollando tecnologías para tener aviones más rápidos y eficientes, y estamos trabajando con empresas estadounidenses para tener aviones innovadores en nuestros cielos. Max Power le va a mostrar al mundo el liderazgo de la NASA en aviación. Será una experiencia de primera mano. Y lo vamos a hacer compartiendo lo que significa trabajar con las mejores aeronaves de investigación del mundo. Esta flota incluye aeronaves que operan prácticamente a ras del suelo hasta las partes superiores de la atmósfera y desde vuelo lento hasta el doble de la velocidad del sonido. Estaba pensando. Así que esto está apoyado por los expertos que mantienen estas aeronaves operando y equipos que hacen cosas fantásticas. Cada una de nuestras aeronaves refleja un aspecto nuevo de las misiones de la NASA. Por ejemplo, sabrán que nuestros F-18 y F-16 son aviones de combate, pero también sirven para hacer exploración a vuelos de gran altitud. Podemos modificarlos para tener componentes experimentales, como alas experimentales y sensores, para hacer pruebas que no se pueden hacer en un túnel de viento. Estas aeronaves también sirven como escoltas de seguridad para misiones de prueba que se están haciendo en California. Y también los tuvimos en los eventos de celebración de Freedom 250. Y lo pueden ver allí. Así que cuando operamos en la capa más alta de la atmósfera terrestre, tenemos plataformas de la NASA. Usamos esta fuerza de investigación para probar sistemas de análisis de incendios forestales, para calibrar sensores espaciales y para el estudio de la atmósfera. Y también operamos una flota de helicópteros, como el que está aquí detrás de nosotros, que los hemos adaptado para probar tecnologías como sistemas avanzados de alunizaje. Esto nos da una forma práctica de evaluar las tecnologías que tendremos que utilizar en la Luna. Y vamos a utilizar eso en nuestras misiones, incluyendo más de 20 misiones de aterrizajes, de alunizajes robóticos. Van a haber más del trabajo de la NASA en los próximos años, más pruebas, más aviones avanzados, más avances e innovaciones, a medida que seguimos desarrollando el futuro de la aviación. Max Power es una oportunidad de ver estas aeronaves para hacer realidad ese futuro y les permitirá compartir la emoción de la investigación en aviación. Gracias.
Joining us from the Sunshine State is Senator Ashley Moody, a fifth-generation Floridian, former judge, former Florida Attorney General, and now U.S. Senator. Please welcome Senator Moody.
They said there were stairs. No one told me. It's all right. Well, you have heard from three folks who I hope you could hear in their voice how passionate they are about America's place in the next space race. Lori, Brian, Jared, your remarks were inspiring, and I think we're all comforted knowing you are at the helms of your respective divisions. And I will say, in terms of NASA, Jared Isaacman and I have spent a lot of time talking about the need to keep America in first place of the next space race and how important that is for our nation. And I cannot tell you Substantively, this guy knows everything there is to know about making that happen, and he is energetic. I'm telling you, it's almost like he's got a bullhorn and he's yelling at everybody, we gotta stay ahead, we gotta stay ahead, we gotta stay ahead, and it's true. We're doing everything in our power to make sure that that happens by making sure we're having investment into Florida's Space Coast. We've already passed legislation. I was so proud to get that done as Florida's newest U.S. Senator, and we're working on a bill right now to make sure we get passed called Space Ready 2.0 that allows voluntary private investment in so much of our launch pad. You heard about NASA's role in leading in this space race. I want to talk about Florida's for a moment. As Florida's senator that represents the amazing Florida Space Coast, this is the launch pad of all space exploration. It has been. Florida is so proud of that. From the Mercury and Gemini missions to the Apollo missions to now the Artemis missions, the launches take place right here. And most Floridians don't even know that Florida's Space Coast launches 40% of the world's launches. In terms of spaceports, right here at our Florida Space Coast, we launch more than every other spaceport in the United States combined. So when we talk about bringing together all of our assets to show off the max power of the United States of America in this space exploration and space race, it can be no other place than Florida's Space Coast, because we are leading the way for the rest of the nation in making sure that we win this race. I am so proud to be the senator that gets to help in this endeavor, to get to be here for this great announcement. As we are picking up our cadence in launches, just in the last decade, we now launch 500% more a year from Florida's Space Coast. We expect within the next decade, we're going to see 500 launches every single year. That is amazing news for the United States of America, but it's great news for the economy and the people of the state of Florida. So thank you very much for sharing this news today. We're in it with you, and we cannot wait until November. Thanks so much.
There are stairs on this side if the next participants would like to use them. Next, please welcome Congressman Mike Herodopoulos, who represents Florida's 8th Congressional District. A longtime public servant who spent 12 years in the Florida legislature, Congressman Herodopoulos represents Kennedy Space Center in the U.S. House and chairs the subcommittee on space and aeronautics.
Well, thank you so much. As Ashley said perfectly, the future of America is right here on the Space Coast. We could not be more excited about how things are literally taking off. And everyone in this room knows you can't be #1 on Earth if you're #2 in space and technology. It is so exciting to see this place explode in a positive way and move forward like never before. And let's also compare where we were just a few years ago. When the shuttle program went away, many of us wondered, would this still be the place where we launch dreams, new experiments, and on our way back to Moon and later Mars? We were not sure. But the state of Florida, led by Governor Scott, more recently Governor DeSantis, has stepped up like never before, worked with our friends in Washington, D.C. to make sure that Florida stays that hub of not just activity, but where we reach for the stars. And to be perfectly clear of how committed we are in Washington, D.C. to make sure that Florida is that epicenter, we have not only put record funding forth for NASA, but we actually increased it further. We put almost $10 billion in the big bill passed last July because we wanted to make the investment necessary. And what's equally fascinating and exciting is that we have a leader at NASA today that has energized this place like never before. I just like to call him James Bond. The guy flies around in planes. It's pretty good, Jared. Well done, my friend. And also think about the sacrifice he's making. An incredibly successful person has said, I'm going to give back to my country. That's what's exciting about America today. We're bringing the best and the brightest right here to win the new space race, and we're thrilled about it. And finally, here in the district, let me just say a couple things. I know one of our local officials, including the mayor of Titusville, is here today. Our kids are getting a first-class education right in high school and can go to work in the spaceports around this area. And if you go off to a school like UCF, where 30% of our engineers come from UCF, that's Florida dynamism. We're not just sands and beaches anymore and Disney. We are the economic superpower. And with that max power coming in, I've been to Farnborough, I've been to Paris. When they come to Florida, they're not going to go anywhere else. And I could not be more thrilled about it. I want to say thank you to Jared Isaacman and the entire team. You all brought an incredible new dynamism to this. And Ashley has done just a remarkable job, not only in bringing space bonds and making it a reality, but this new program where we're having private sector investment, investing in this infrastructure, so we are the launch pad for the future. And I could not be more thrilled to be here. Thank you so much.
Please also welcome Congressman Darren Soto, who represents Florida's 9th Congressional District. Now in his second decade of public service, Congressman Soto previously served in both chambers of the Florida legislature. Please welcome Congressman Soto.
Administrator Isaacman, Director Hughes, Director Grindell, what an incredible day, what an incredible announcement for America's 250th anniversary. 2026 has been a big year. We saw Artemis II launched just down the way there, and I was proud to be the only member of Congress who've seen both launches, both Artemis I and II, a point of pride. We're excited and wish you the best of luck on the Nancy Grace Roman telescope to be able to observe far-off worlds, and now the Max Power Showcase, highlighting American space leadership. In Florida's 9th Congressional District, over in Central Florida, the district right next door, we get to see launches twice a week from our backyard. But now this gives us another opportunity to view all these machines up close. And if you want to go beyond Mach 2, by the way, which I know that came up, UCF's hyperspace program is going to help us get there. And so thank you for the funding of that great program. Seeing NASA, Space Force, SpaceX, ULA, Blue Origin, all these great players come together to inspire the next generation of explorers, I find inspiring as well. And Artemis II will have a rendezvous with the moon lander, and eventually Artemis IV, a rendezvous with destiny. And so I'm excited as we make our journey back to the moon, to Mars and beyond, that we are supporting these efforts in Congress, and we must do it together. Thank you, everyone.
And finally, please welcome Congressman Byron Donalds, who has represented Florida's 19th Congressional District in the U.S. House since 2021. Before coming to Congress, Congressman Donalds served in the Florida legislature. Clearly, there's a theme today. Please welcome Congressman Donalds.
Well, first of all, it's really an honor and a pleasure to be here. We are thoroughly excited for Max Power. Administrator Isaacman, directors, we want to thank you guys so much for all your leadership here. But more importantly, we are excited to let the world know that Florida is going to be the home of commercial space and aerospace technology for the future, not just of the United States, but on this very planet. In Florida, we want to make sure that we are committed to making sure that our workforce, like was talked about by Congressman Soto and Congressman Haradopoulos, that our workforce is prepared for the future, whether that's engineering or whether that's the machinists, the contractors, the builders, the electricians, and the welders that are going to be a part of this great mission that's going to lead not just Florida, but the United States into the future. And listening to Senator Moody, one thing I'd be remiss in not adding is, the history of space has always come through Florida. We know that mission control was in Houston. We're aware of that in Florida. But the takeoff, the launch occurred here. All the launches, the vast majority, are going to be here. And we look forward to being a true pioneer leader, working with you guys, and all that we're going to do to make sure that we win the race of space and beyond, coming right through the great state of Florida. Congratulations on all you do. I'm looking forward to Max Power. That's going to be a great event. See you guys.
And we understand that some of our congressional leaders may need to depart, and we're going to open the floor to questions. There is a microphone over here that you can line up at to ask your questions, and we'll call on you. And then have our speakers that are here on stage able to answer questions.
All right, hi, Richard Tribou, Orlando Sentinel. This is for the administrator. Are you a bigger fan of the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels, and are you going to be flying up there during this show? And if you're not, what are you most looking forward to looking at on the ground in terms of NASA's new toys? Thanks.
So I am going to say I am equally excited and supportive of both the Thunderbirds and Blue Angels as America's premier demonstration teams. I'm new to politics, but I'm a quick learner here in all this. We're thrilled that Thunderbirds are going to be able to come and showcase their talents here at Kennedy Space Center during the Max Power event. I'm telling you, I'm excited about the whole thing. You're going to have Artemis 3. That's going to be right around that time is essentially when we're targeting a rollout for its next wet dress rehearsal. You're going to have astronauts here from the Apollo era and the Artemis era sharing their experiences with the interested public. Not to mention, again, a showcase of technology, that's going to make its way to the lunar surface in the years ahead. So it's going to be really exciting. And yes, I will certainly be flying in Max Power. So, thank you. By the way, I also want to highlight, aside from the Max Power event that we've announced here, I think pretty exciting that the head of aeronautics within the NASA Research and Technology Mission Directorate announced a Mach 10 aircraft. A lot of people, I know you're excited. Well, he is. Roger would be excited.
I'm just going to go ahead and pull the mic so that we can pass it between our participants, and I will hand it over to Manuel.
Thank you. Manuel Masanti with Exploración Espacial. Administrator, Max Power is going to be a regular event, like an annual event, like it's going to be competing with the rest of the air shows in the country. What's the idea?
Well, I feel reasonably confident with the contributions of the American aerospace industry, along with our partners and other agencies in the DoW, that what we will create here at Kennedy Space Center will not have a competitor. But yes, certainly the idea is that this event, Max Power, becomes the first of many.
Hello, Max Evans for NASASpaceflight.com. I guess this can be for anybody. What can a NASA-hosted show like this provide over a show like Oshkosh, Farnborough, Paris?
Yeah, well, I'll start out just at the microphone, and I happen to be a big fan of the Oshkosh show that takes place every year. I think you're talking very different intent and vibes from that type of event. That is absolutely the greatest fly-in in the world, and if you attended, you probably know it is. People are camping out, and it's much more of I would say, a social event from the general aviation community. What we're talking about here is America's premier expo to showcase the technology in aerospace of the future, and it happens to be alongside a great air show. So I don't think it has a competitor within the U.S., and I think if we do our job right, it won't have one either on the world stage. Anyone?
I'd just add to that as the administrator said, those are great gatherings. They've obviously built quite a history and quite a reputation. But isn't it a shame when American companies have to go to Paris or England to announce the groundbreaking things they've done or are about to do? So we have an opportunity at this location, which happens to be an iconic part of NASA and the nation's history, to build something that, again, isn't just an air show, although that's cool, but has a real potential to rival them in its appeal to commercial partnerships.
Hi, Will Robinson Smith with Spaceflight Now. Thank you all for your time today. Thinking about the top line of this, can you give an overview of if NASA is going to be footing the bill entirely for this Air and Space show? What's the cost? And the administrator, you mentioned that it'll be around the time of rollout for the Artemis 3 wet dress. Is there any concern about the logistics from that happening sort of in concert with all the movement that's going to be happening with this Air and Space show? Thank you.
I certainly hope we have, to work some deconfliction issues between the event and Artemis 3 rollout in November. That would be fantastic. But I actually think that if our timing works out, it will be a fantastic way to complement what should already be a rather extraordinary event. Now, this is not something that NASA is going to be footing the bill for in this. I mean, these type of events do happen around the world. They're sponsor-driven. We're making available this great real estate, no different than you would see at major events. Nellis has an air show, Andrews and others. But we'll be contributing a lot of our talent, and we'll be contributing some of our aircraft from the NASA portfolio, which we fly around at various events on well, they're certainly becoming normal course, and especially during America's 250th birthday.
I just add, I will take it as my own scolding, that our partners at Space Florida represent, so we talked a bit about the commercial partnerships that exist here and across NASA, but here in Florida, the partnership we have with Space Florida, part of our state's government, technically and officially they operate through an agreement with NASA, this facility, so that partnership I think is going to be on display. Both NASA and the state of Florida will be in a position to utilize their relationships as well as commercial partnerships to make sure that NASA and the federal taxpayer are not the payers of this bill.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for doing this. Ken Kramer, Space Up Close. You mentioned Artemis 3 a couple of times. Can you, Jared, please give us an update? Where do these Pathfinder vehicles stand for Blue Origin and SpaceX now? And do you think that you'll be able to launch next year? And what kind of exhibits for that will you have at the air show? Thank you.
I'm extremely confident that we are going to be able to launch Artemis 3 next year. That's why we stepped into stacking operations. I had a chance to visit with the Blue Origin team earlier, walk the assembly line floor today, looking at components that will make their way into the Blue Origin test lander that we'll be rendezvousing and docking with. And I'll tell you, and I think if you spoke to Blue Origin, they would say the same thing. What we are going to learn from that mission, the amount of risk we're going to be able to bring down in advance of Artemis 4 will be significant. In fact, so much so I think you couple that with the uncrewed landing demonstration, you're going to be very confident about what you're going to be able to achieve in, potentially in 2028. So they're moving very quickly. I tell you, we manage the schedule down to the day collectively. Every single component to the Artemis program, we manage down to the day and down to the hour. So from the enhancements to the SLS vehicle and Centaur, to the Orion readiness on this, to suit development, to our 2 different landers, we are paying very close attention to. And as I've said many times, the talent across NASA is driving outcomes alongside our partners. Now, with respect to SpaceX, I think what you're witnessing, you're seeing an increase in launch cadence, and that's critical. If they're able to launch again, in early September after their last launch and continue to track inside of a month, potentially every couple of weeks before the end of the year, we're going to feel very good about their timing to contribute to Artemis 3 next year. They've already started cutting hardware for that test vehicle. We track that every single day, so that's the test lander. So we're feeling very good about that, and I'd say more so, each step along the way that you get better about Artemis 3, you're feeling that much better about Artemis 4 and its timeline in 28.
And any exhibits at the air show for this?
Well, I'd say first and foremost, you're going to have the people here. The Artemis astronauts that have flown on their missions, that are getting ready to fly on the missions, and then you're going to have the Apollo astronauts here that we're learning so much from. So I start with the people because it's probably one of the most exciting things from it. But that said, you will see rovers, you'll see landers from the CLPS programs here. You'll see a lot of hardware that either has applicability to the early Artemis missions, including very well, you might get a great view of Artemis 3 on its way out to 39B. But you'll also see a lot of the critical components for the moon base that we're building as well.
Thank you.
Pablo Fuente with Radio El Respeto on Orbita Infinita Maya. Question is for Administrator Isaacman. With the flourishing economy of private and companies like NASA, will this event represent an opportunity to recruit the best talent in the world? Do you foresee to carry out networking and recruiting opportunities to attract that talent? Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, I think as mentioned in several of our remarks, hosting an event like this, just like a launch of Artemis 2 or Artemis 3 is a great way to inspire the next generation of talent to grow up and pick up pursue a degree path that's relevant to NASA or industry's requirements, become an intern at NASA, a pathway intern that potentially becomes a civil servant or joins industry. I think the best way that we can inspire the next generation to contribute to this great endeavor is to fly our missions and do things like Max Power coming up. But I'd say we're not hosting the event necessarily to take talent away from others or so in industry. In fact, I think NASA, as I said many times, is at our best when we are doing what no company or agency or other nation is capable of doing. In a lot of ways, that's where SR-1 Freedom and the first nuclear-powered interplanetary spaceship, which will launch from here at Kennedy Space Center in late 2028, which I hope, as I mentioned, becomes the start of the nuclear NASA and attracts a lot of talent that's never in conflict with industry, but is opening up the solar system.
With the thunderstorm that we can see behind y'all and the empty mic stand, I think that will be our last question. For more information and to follow along, visit nasa.gov/maxpower. Again, nasa.gov/maxpower. Thank you all for joining us in person and tuning in to today's Max Power Expo event. We can't wait to see you in November.